Hey, you guys, welcome back. So today, plan on going over some Etsy shop setups that will, improve your customer flow into the shop, potentially sales as well. Um, but I mean, that's sales is primarily based on the products that you guys have up there for sale. But um, this is going to at least bring in rank you higher in search versus your competitors and bring in a lot more customers, right? So I'm just going to jump into that real quick here and we can get started. Actually, where are you guys joining me from? Who all is here today? Let me know where you guys are joining me from, what city or state and or country. I know some of you guys are overseas as well, right? Hey, Craig, you're here like every time, huh? That's pretty cool. I like it. I like it. Let me know if the audio is cutting out or the video is lagging this time at all. And there's a few things I can do to improve that. Um, Hopefully I've got everything set up the way that I had it planned this time around. I got a different camera today. Hopefully it's a little bit, better quality than the previous one. That previous one is still set up too, but we'll see if we jump back and forth. All right. And in case you guys did want to see what the setup was like here, I did go ahead and hook up another one. So we got a whole like production going on this time. Anyway, let's jump back over into this and I will get started in Etsy, since that's what we're going to go over today. Etsy setup. In order to do this, I did have to set up with my actual stores to be able to show you this. And we'll pull this over and then share that with you guys real quick. The Swamp of DC. That sounds like fun, John. I don't know how fun that really sounds, but DC sounds interesting. Hopefully it's not too swampy there, Marg, I don't know where Margate is. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. But I do know where the UK is, so that's at least somewhat close, right? Anyway, I'll jump in here to this other view. And here we've got my older Etsy shop, which I ended up shutting down. And actually, when I shut it down, there was some issues with Etsy then preventing me from giving refunds while it was shut down, resulting in a ton of one-star reviews. So if you do shut your Etsy shop down ever go on vacation for any period of time, make sure you issue any refunds that you have outstanding before that. What happened is my Etsy store, I had a bunch of orders that were back to, and I didn't want new orders coming in, so I put it on vacation mode. And then a bunch of those orders I couldn't fulfill due to timing issues. And I went to go do the refunds, and it wouldn't let me do it. So I had to reactivate my shop in order to do the refunds. By that time, people already left a bunch of reviews. So this shop here now has a 1-star review for it, even though I've got tons of 5-star reviews on the actual items. So we'll jump over to that one, and I'll show you some of the areas that that you're going to want to set up right. And I'll jump into the how to set those up too, okay? And we'll see if I can keep oh, Baltimore. That's neat. I am here from California, sunny California. It's actually a little bit cold this week. It snowed earlier at my house, and it's only snowed twice since I've lived here in the past 10 years. So that's pretty neat. So we'll jump down here. So one of the things that I do suggest setting up is the About You section and entering in some photographs down here, right? And some of these are from other customers' posts over on Instagram. Some of them are just products that I've made, and then a shipment photo, right? To show kind of how you ship things. And then a write-up down here description of your shop, right? In which case you can actually enter links as well, which you can see in mine, where I've linked them to Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook. And then another thing here, you can set up shop members. You can set them up individually. I did it as combined with my wife, and kind of threw a little story in there. And then we also have our own website set up through Shopify that uses the same name, but a .com, right? So a lot of these things you don't really have to do. I do suggest setting up the shop members and a little description for them. You could, like I said, you could do it as separate people. I've even seen people add their dogs or cats in there as shop members, or their small children for fun. Whether or not you want to share those pictures is kind of up to you. But a good detailed description of your shop and what you guys do, maybe where you're coming from, and that sort of stuff. So I've got some history in here. I believe it makes reference to me being a veteran, which if you are, there are certain customers who are military and prior military that would rather buy from someone else who is the same over just a general seller that they don't know. And then also we get down in here into other things like the policies, whether you offer return exchanges or cancellations. And that stuff is all done through the setup, and I'll go through there and show you that as well. And then the privacy policy, Etsy promotes you having one, and they have some detailed ones on how to set up your own privacy policy on what you do with your customers' information. And being forthcoming and honest about what you're going to do with information is important. If you are going to utilize because you can pull their email address and add that to your own personalized email group and email them newsletters that are even off Etsy and your own personal stuff. But if you're going to do that, you need to let them know that's what you're going to do. And so I suggest creating a privacy policy regardless of whether you're going to do anything like that or not, or if you're just going to operate within Etsy's platform. Because really they agree to communication within Etsy's platform through Etsy's notification system anyway. So you don't really need an official one if you're going to operate within Etsy only, but I still suggest setting one up. Even if the default one is that you're going to comply with Etsy's privacy policies. And it looks like it's not going to load up now. I don't know why it's not loading, but that is created by going through the checklist in the settings, which we'll get into. And then you can add your own FAQ section about, on mine I was selling cutting boards for a bit, so I put in here like a cleaning procedure for it. And we had customers in the past who have tried to change their ship to address after they've placed the order, and that's actually a common scam tactic when somebody's using a stolen credit card. Is they will place an order to that person's original account, and then they'll contact you to change the ship to address afterwards, right? So beware of that one, and I suggest, I kind of wrote this one up here about the way that I treat them changing the ship to address. All right, so we can get into that one real quick, but let's look at some of these listings. Like this right here was my best seller for the longest time, and what kind of made me want to stop this store. So only because I was selling too many items and I couldn't keep up with the sales, and I kept on raising the price and became the highest priced ottoman tray on Etsy, and I was still getting a few sales every day. And really the most I could possibly make with my setup here was one a day at best. So once I started selling 2 or 3 a day, I kind of had to just put the entire shop on vacation mode. So we'll kind of go through this a little bit. You'll notice that this particular listing has a video that should play here as well. Once you do set up a listing, you can actually go onto Etsy's app, the Etsy seller app, and upload videos to your listing from your phone using the Etsy seller app. So I've created a short little, quick transitions in the company business logo at the end there, where it kind of scans through and just shows a handful of pictures as the video there. So if you're not taking advantage of that, go ahead and do that. And then since I'm selling stuff in multiple colors, we've got like a swatch of different colors that are here, and we stopped using these two, but they're still on the printout or the listing here, so they're still in that photo, which is okay. You can kind of gather, because you're going to choose your color here as well, which ones are available, and you can see I've even taken a few more out when I started when I took that item off, and then I brought it back on. I I brought back the colors that were selling the most, and that's it, because I didn't want to keep on doing the other ones that weren't even selling that much. Because ultimately, if I can batch a few of them out and have them ready in those 2 colors, then I can do them, a little bit quicker. And the other thing that I added here, which is usually the last photo, I don't know why these are out of order, but I tell my customers to favorite this listing, and I'll show you in a moment what that does and how many favorites we have on each listing. And I think it's as a result of that. And then we have this FAQ page that talks about your, sealing it, and any other details you might want to share about your item. You can put it into a photo, which people are a lot more inclined to look at than actually coming over here and expanding the entire description. Now, I did write a rather generic description that I then started using parts of for different listings, and I suggest doing that, having a thorough description that covers stuff. See here, I used a custom font, so when I do go back and change the date or the timelines, it doesn't quite match up with everything, but that actually kind of makes it stand out to the customers too. And you can put links within your description as well. So here we've got other ones where I was doing engraving as well in the trays, and this would link around over to that one. I believe that Etsy only allows you to link to another Etsy page within that, but that's, you can at least link them over to either your main page or another one of your Etsy listings, stuff like that. And then here we talk about don't forget to favorite the shop. Now, we are kind of getting a little bit out of hand with 2 different requests for them to favorite stuff, right? But as a result, we've gotten quite a few different, you'll see the shop has 400 and something followers, so people who have favorited the shop itself, when we only have 425 sales. So really, that's a good amount of followers. So if I was to create a new product or run a sale, all the people that have favorited the listing and all the people that have favorited the shop will receive a notification of that new item for sale or new sale altogether. And then if possible, if you can take your average shipping costs or your higher end shipping costs and roll it into the listing price of the item and then offer it as free shipping, even though you've basically integrated the shipping costs into the listing price, then that's all the better, right? They see that free shipping, and Etsy tends to push those items out a little bit better, right? Oh yeah, you're selling the G code on Etsy, and you've sold one, so that's cool to hear, Craig. Here, we'll put that up there as well. That you're selling G code on there. See, yeah, are you selling the XYZ probe as well, or just the G code? I'm not really a huge fan of using G codes that are for sale from other people like that, but I guess if you're able to list it and sell it, there's a little bit of liability there, right? That you kind of take on by selling the G code itself. But if you explain what it's doing on each of the lines, then and what the user might want to change if they use a different probe or a different setup, that might make perfect sense. So I've gone over here and I looked for CNC wood sign, and it brought me up to this listing, I believe. Oops, if I can type, let's try that again. CNC wood sign, and we'll go into. I'm going to skip the ones that are advertised. Oh yeah, this is my own page because I'm not using an incognito window. So if you do want to see what happens when you search certain text, you could just go to Etsy.com with an incognito window like this, and then your searches don't reflect your search history and your cookies and your own interaction with your own store, right? So we can type in here, if I can see around this microphone right now. There we go. And we can see that we've got, for CNC wood signs, we've got a couple of ads over here on top, but we can skip those advertised ones. You can see here it says ad by Etsy seller, and it usually shows up every 3 rows you get more ads again. So we'll skip the advertised ones because that's where they're being promoted to us, not necessarily that it's a good listing or that it fits those descriptions. So if one of you guys is selling something in particular that you want me to look at right now, just let me know what it is, like what your listing description might be, or what your listing title is, and we'll look up that, and we'll go from there. Here, we'll do this real quick. We'll type in ottoman tray, which is what my other listing was. Again, that store was on vacation mode. I had to turn it back off vacation mode to show you some of those details just now in there. But I doubt that any of the listings are going to show up for mine in this, although they did used to be in 3 different listings I had, which showed up in the top 5 or 6 rows of Etsy. So we can go over here to these ones, and we've got these that are most loved. Like I mentioned, if you heart a listing, then it shows up here in this most loved column. So by asking people to favorite your listing, then it'll come up here. Here, I'm going to go ahead and just pick one real quick. I might get into yours in a second, Greg. I didn't really think about metal stuff, right? I was mostly thinking about wooden items here. But yeah, we could jump into the XYZ probe in just a minute. So once this one here loads up real quick, there we go. I'm going to use this one as an example when we jump into this next part. You see how many photos they have. So that's pretty important, is trying to max out your 10 photo limit with different photos that relay information, not just the same item from a different angle. If you do, or if you're able to take it to a friend's house and place it within a different background, like how they've got them going over here from an actual ottoman tray to a countertop, and then a dining table and stuff like that. So they do have a few on the same ottoman. That's fine. They're different colors, they're different handle designs. It's got different stuff on it. So all that kind of makes sense, right? But you really wouldn't want just 8, 9 different angles of the exact same item, right? That doesn't really make sense. But this one here, obviously we took one that's the top ranked, and we can take this, and we're going to kind of jump topics here. But this right here is the item listing number. You can see it's right here in the end. And if you actually want to link somebody to your product, you can actually take all this, delete all that out, and all you need is this information here to drop a link to somebody, or to put in your like Facebook group post. If you were to do something like that of the item, all you have to do is copy this, and you have that information. And if you did want to put your own shop information there, like their shop is I know I'm kind of changing topics here, but their shop is Labrador Design Co. You could take labradordesignco.etsy.com, and that's just a short way of linking somebody to your shop. It doesn't have to be www.etsy.com/shop/labradordesignco. You can shorten it even further by putting your shop name.etsy.com. Okay, but back to that ottoman tray. So using this number here, I'm going to go ahead and open a different tab up using my one that's already logged in here. We'll go to Erank. And this website is called Erank. And it kind of, there's another one called, oh no, I forgot the name of it. It starts with an M. It's not Margarita, but it's something like that. I forgot what it's called. But they're another companion website that Etsy has kind of paired with and allows them to log in. Now, Erank is the one that I like using because I've gotten kind of used to the way it's set up versus that other one. But that other one does work as well. They both have free and paid plans. Everything I'm showing you here on this one is through a free plan. Now, after logging in, you can link your shop. I've got both here of that physical product one that I was showing you, as well as another one for where I sell like digital designs and 3D printed stuff that are accessories for the CNC. So I sell digital designs and then 3D printed stuff over in that other one. And then this main one here was the wood ottoman trays and other decor like that. Primarily ottoman trays was what the sales were there, and the Marine Corps rank displays that I sell as well. And if you guys do want to see how I make those Marine Corps rank displays, once we do reach 10, I made an agreement with somebody that I would totally give up all the secrets on how I made that as soon as we hit 10,000 subscribers. So once the channel gets that big, the video is definitely going out on how to make those start to finish how I design them and how to CNC them. Anyway, jumping over here. So when you log into Erank, this is the landing page, and it's going to refresh to your shop's actual listings. And so you can see that shop that we had over there with the wood decor, we've got 11 listings. If I click this, it'll populate here with what those listings are, and we can see them going down. Now, it does a quick little audit of each of the listings, and it tells you up here what, in different categories here, the image counts. You know, I mentioned trying to use all 10 of them. This one here only has 5, so increasing the image count there. This one here has 4 and it's red. So if it's below 5, it highlights it as red and it puts it into another category of like a deficiency of that, right? And we've got some SEO tips where it's telling me to probably use different keywords to have different results, right? So using that other person's listing, we can actually go up here to listings and compare listings, right? And I'm just going to paste theirs in real quick. And we'll jump back over here and pull a few more from that main page here. And then we'll grab mine too. Oh, there we go. So we just need to copy these numbers here. Paste them in the Erank. It's a little bit easier if you've got only one window going, but I did this in multiple windows here for some odd reason. And all we need is that number. I want to open a couple of them, so let's go with this one here too. Erank, there we go. So we can compare those 4. This one here is mine, number 3. You'll see when it loads up what exactly that does. So that one there that I grabbed, apparently, oh no, that one is mine. So it's showing up as invalid because mine isn't refreshed yet. Like I mentioned, I just took that shop off of vacation mode to do this. And it looks like it's not recognizing that listing yet. So we won't be able to compare mine to the rest. You get 25 compares. Technically, that just used one, even though I'm now about to run another one using a different added in listing there, right? So after we do this comparison, it tells us how many daily views each of these different listings gets. So on average, this one here, the solid black walnut one, versus the other solid wood and beautiful rustic, they all get different daily views, right? So if you're going to borrow information from one of them, or how they've got theirs set up, you're going to want to look at what the ones getting the most traffic are. And you can see this one here is a lot more total views, and the days they've been on Etsy for. And as we scroll down, we get even more information, right? Total hearts. This one here has a lot more favorites than some of these other ones, with this one here only having 29. So this one having 46 daily views, only being on Etsy for 28 days, and a total of 29 hearts. That's pretty good traffic for that one listing. So we're going to scroll down a little bit more and see what all we can find. These other ones, we have 9, 9, 8, and 10 image counts, right? So again, those top listings are all high image counts. They do also have some great photos, and most of them are real life use, right? You don't want to just take a picture of the ottoman tray sitting in your shop on the workbench or something like that. You want to show it kind of set up and in use a little bit if you're going to be doing ottoman tray. Now, if you're going to be doing signs and stuff like that, I suggest as well having it kind of the atmosphere around it showing in the picture. And that's going to make a big difference too. Now, if we scroll down here, this is the key part about what I use Erank for. One, to help me identify which listings I've made quickly and don't have enough images for, because it's going to highlight right there which ones have different image counts. And the other thing we can see here is the tags that other users are using. And they're different colors because, here we'll hover over real fast to show you, but they're different colors because it kind of shows you how you rank against your competition, whether that tag itself is an overly used tag. And then when we click in, if we go to the actual listing audit for that one listing, it tells us the usage of the tag and the traffic of people searching for the tag. Because what you don't want is an overly used tag that's not really searched that often. That's definitely a negative, right? And then what you want, and what would be nice though is even if it is used a lot by a lot of posting, a lot of listings, that it's got a lot of traffic coming to it. So you kind of weigh those on whether or not you want a listing that has a lot of traffic versus one that's overly utilized, right? So sometimes I would use one that has a lot of traffic and is utilized a lot, because then you are placing yourself with your competitors, but there's a lot of customers looking for it. So we can see there's some that are yellow as well, which that kind of follows in that middle ground. And so as you set up a brand new listing, we can look in here at what your competitors are using for their tags. I'll go ahead and zoom in real quick here. Let's see if we can do that real quick. Oh, that app isn't opened. All right. That might work now. Control 1. All right. So you can see here the tags used. We've got copy, tray, table, farmhouse, farmhouse tray, ottoman tray, rustic tray. So a lot of these tags, it doesn't matter if the tag, how long a tag can be is determined by the characters, right? You can only have 13 characters, I believe, when you create a tag. But if you put a space in between, like farmhouse tray, I wouldn't use the word farmhouse or tray separately. And I would try and stay away from using those same words again. Because if somebody searches for farmhouse or tray, it's going to pop it up. So the fact that this person used farmhouse and then farmhouse tray, that doesn't help them at all. That farmhouse one might as well be deleted and changed to something else. And the same thing with rustic and rustic tray. So they've wasted 2 tags, one for farmhouse and one for rustic, right? So if you are going to borrow somebody else's tags like that, keep that in mind as you, like this one here, they've got no repeating words like that going on. The word tray is used in a lot of them, but if the customer uses it as oversized or ottoman, or they search for oversized ottoman tray, all those 3 tags are covered by those two different ones that are there, right? So making it as long as possible while not like repeating words over and over again. Like the word walnut there in caps doesn't really help anything too much. If you did want to put a common misspelling of a word in here as an extra one, you can do that. That helps sometimes as well. But I mean, these are just a great place to look at where you could, borrow some ideas from other people of successful uses, right? So if we do look for your XYZ probe, we'll toss the word CNC in there as well, right? And so there's yours as well. We're looking at, I think I've been to your store before, so that's kind of an unfair search there. So we'll go over here to the incognito window. And let me see if I've missed anything here. All right. I haven't really missed anything so far. We'll jump into this one real quick. And so yeah, when I search for XYZ or CNC XYZ tray, we get some of these. Did I type in tray? XYZ probe. You guys weren't going to correct me, were you? Anyway, we get a couple that this person's running ads for them. And we've got this is a printed holder for it. And then the other 3D printed Onefinity holders for them for different machines and stuff. So we've got a few here that show up. This is somebody has done a magnet conversion for one. But as far as your actual competitors, it looks like there's 2 other people making XYZ probes that are on here that are similar in nature, right? The rest of these all appear to be holders. That one magnetic conversion for the Shapeoko one. All right, so we can just open those 3 that are here and kind of just do a quick comparison on those. And I'm just going to copy over those listing numbers. Oops. And this last one, which is going to be yours, over on the far right. Hopefully that worked out. I can't really see my keyboard. All right, there we go. So looking at your XYZ probe, we could see what the daily views are of others, right? So this one here, I'm not even sure what these other stores are. Hopefully they're not other people that I know that I'm telling you how to do better than, right? Well, if they are, that's okay. They need to watch this video too. So you can see here the age listing, how many views, how many total views, how many total hearts, right? So having an item favorited is going to help it appear in that search as well. Because if you go back here to the XYZ probe, we have most loved here at the top, starting with this 360. And yours doesn't appear because it only has one heart to it, right? So that's an interesting feature of Etsy and how it throws them way up here at the very top. I believe you could turn off this most loved feature of when you log in and use Etsy as a buyer, but by default it is on up here, so most users are going to see it. So if you encourage people to place a heart on your item, that's going to then help. I'm not logged in now, so it's not going to let me do it unless I log in. But yeah, I see you've added a video, so that's good as well, and you've got a handful of pictures. But here I'm just going to jump over into Erank and look at what they say, right? So sometimes placing too many available might, it doesn't, I guess you can't see how many there are for sale here on your listing the way it's set up. If you've got, there are a way to purchase multiples, then we can see a drop down, there's 100 items available. People might not see that, not feel the need to buy it today, that it's always going to be there and that you've got tons of them available, right? So I would start this listing off with maybe like 15 or 20 as the available quantity, just to encourage people to want to, purchase it more quickly. Like the idea of scarcity, right? That it's not always going to be available. I bought mine off of eBay, the probe that I use, and that seller is no longer selling them. So I've tried to link people to that one, but they don't sell them anymore. So I might have to link people to yours now instead. We'll see what your price is. So the other thing here, obviously looking at this as soon as I come down here, is that it looks like, I'm not sure if you've got a processing time entered for yours, but these right here tell them how long it's going to take to ship. So putting in a processing time that you can easily keep up with, especially what if you get an order for 100 pieces? I mean, I know you don't have it doesn't list one in here, so there might not be one set up for your item where it tells them how long it's going to take to ship from the time they order it. But yeah, it looks like it doesn't say that in here at all, how long it's going to take to ship. So informing them of that, that's in the listing setup. I'm going to jump over here to mine real quick and show you in one of these stores. Jump into the back end of, I'm not sure which store I'm logged into right now, but my digital item store. So we can jump over here and I can show you where to set that data up. So over here under the listing, this is the, you see I've got a bunch of photos, but they're all very similar. So I shouldn't have done that. That's a bad example here, right? But these things, there's only one other person selling them on Etsy, and he's kind of a friend. So I don't really, I mean, if people want to buy them from me or him, it doesn't really matter. I don't, they are what they are, right? It's just a sleeve to put a Makita or a 65mm in, where a 69 would otherwise be the right size. So, and I'm gonna have to find that spot where it says time. So here we've got, when you do set up your shipping services, you can, see if I can jump in here real quick. Oh, it's not going to let me edit that, is it? Right here you can set the processing time, and you'll want to set that up in there, right? This is 1 to 3 days because it's a quick print. in a couple of hours, and then I can ship it. So over here to yours, right? So you're going to want to put that in there if it's not in there already. Oh, yours is just... So that's the thing. So, okay, so yours is a digital download. See how confusing that could be? I ran XYZ probe and I get these other physical ones, and I thought yours was a physical one just the same. So I don't think your listing is I mean, I would change the description here to say that it is the just say that it's the G code to carve your own, or make your own CNC touch plate with this file or digital file, or something to that effect. I do see down here that it says that it's a zip containing 2 other files, but that's a little bit confusing because it does look like you're selling the physical product here. So I would probably maybe put a split image up here, one that shows the item and one that shows next to it that it's a digital design type of deal, and that you're selling this file digitally. Yeah, I think that might cause some confusion there if you don't clarify that. And trust me, as somebody who sells digital files, if somebody thinks they're getting a physical item and you're selling them something digital, they might not be too happy with that, right? Now, obviously, $375 and no shipping, they should know that once they go to checkout, but there's no such thing as common sense around here, right? When you compare it to the $50 and the $27 one, people might think they're actually getting the item in the picture. And then, yeah, the description here of what it is, it doesn't really clarify that. Now we can jump over to mine. I can show you the way that mine are set up with some descriptions about non-physical items, right? Where it talks about it being a digital design, even though some of them do show the like this one here. This is a tray, right? The little pet tray thing, and then it goes into showing that it's SVGs a lot. Yes, it does show physical items. A review from somebody who made their own using the file, and the description talks about that too. Let me go over here to this side, and we'll look at it from customer looking in, right? So if they were to select this corner square, this is what the customer sees. Corner clamping squares, cabinet, square CNC, cut file for, and if you list, some people will search for specifically their model CNC, even though I'm not giving them G code or anything like that, I'm just giving them an SVG file. They'll search for that. So having certain branded names in your description, though there's some questionableness on trademark usage, it tends to help certain customers find what they're looking for, right? So if we then scroll through the rest of the pictures, it's fairly obvious that this is digital files. And then if you've got some review history of people leaving 5-star reviews, tossing those in the as an extra picture doesn't hurt anything either, to show that the file was easy enough to use. And then I've got this part here with a bunch of asterisks. It's a digital download. No physical items will be shipped to your address. And then some of these links, they used to work and they don't work anymore. Etsy for a while allowed you to link to external sites, and now they don't. I happen to be an Amazon affiliate, so if somebody was to copy and paste this and then they buy this product, I make like 3% on them buying that. Not a ton, but why not add it to the listing? And then that's a listing to some Baltic birch, which does make a really good corner clamp. And then if people add it to their shopping carts, you might get a pop-up here that says, hurry, these are going fast. People have them in their carts. 13 people have them in their carts. Buy it before it's gone. Well, it's an SVG file. It's not really going anywhere. But, so we jump back over here to the Erank, and we're talking about your quantity available. I guess it doesn't hurt to have a large quantity when you are doing digital. So we can get into tags, but again, these are tags for a physical item, and yours is the digital, so it kind of doesn't correlate that much. But there we go. We can see what this person's tags are. Again, I used those names in my listing title, so you don't really need to use them in tag, title, and description, all three of them. But if you do have them in at least two together, that helps. So I would use similar tags as your title and your description, your main points, right? So, but like I mentioned before, putting the same word in here twice, CNC and CNC files, that doesn't really, this one here doesn't help them at all. If somebody searches the word CNC, just having this one here alone is going to, this one here alone is going to do the same thing as having this one. So they basically wasted an extra tag with this one here. And the same thing here for touch versus touch probe. And then CNC touch probe. I mean, they're kind of wasting, they're wasting a bunch of tags here. Is there much else they could write about it besides this? Not really. Maybe aluminum probe, maybe CNC touch probe. I mean, they could compare it to other listings too. Let's see what this guy over here has. So we've got Australian made, G54 origin, precise XYZ origin, tools. I mean, so they've got a few that are wasted as well. I think putting in more brands or models might be a good idea, because although Inventables and Shapeoko and X-Carve, you can also use them on other brands, the Long Mill, the My Workbee, I don't other well-known brands, right? You could go with Sane Smarter or Fox Alien, Your Home. You know, those other brands would be good to throw in your tags. Now, this is really the only place you can see tags. If you go in Etsy itself, it doesn't tell you what their tags are, right? So make sure to put tags in here, and that your category does make sense, and encouraging people to favorite the listing, occasionally putting up. So I will put up, when a holiday comes around, a sale within Etsy. We can jump over here to the right page. And I can show you how to do that real quick. We can run a sale in one of my stores. We'll see which one we're logged into. All right. So this is the SVG Studio store, where I'm mostly selling, you know, digital designs, and like I said, those few 3D printed parts. I did have this coupon, which is kind of interesting, because the way that Etsy sees certain things, if they purchase something from you, from your store, and then they purchase again, that ranks even higher than them having left a 5-star review. So if you can get repeat customers, that is, you know, even better than a 5-star review of your store. So I threw up this, you know, 60% off coupon one here, and that would allow them to, and it tells them in the description here, to buy this, and then they'll get the code to use to get 60% off any of the other digital items on the store. So if they are going to, and if you purchase more than, I think, $6 worth of items, then it makes sense to buy this first, and then come back and buy the other 3 or 4 listings that you were going to buy from the store, which one encourages more sales, but also encourages that repeat customer, which, like I said, Etsy sees better than a 5-star review. And you can't, and according to Etsy's rules, you can't encourage people to, you can encourage people to leave a review, but you can't encourage them to leave a positive review. Now, that's key verbiage there, right? So I encourage my customers to leave a review, whether it's positive or negative, right? And the majority of the time, either they're going to only leave a review when they're really upset or when they're really excited. And most people who are on the fence are going to be those ones who are going to leave a positive one anyway. If they're going to leave a negative review, they're going to do it whether you encourage them to or not. So I do that. This is not the best store to show you how to set stuff up in, because, like I said, this is just the SVG one. I made it in one weekend with most of the listings of the designs on there. But we can jump in here, and I'll show you how to run a sale real quick. And I kind of prefer to, you know, you get a bunch of favorites and admirers, listing favorites before you bother running a sale. And then over here to run a sale, we go over to marketing, and you can use Etsy ads, which I don't really use. In the past, when I was selling that ottoman tray a lot and I had like the highest price, I would run an Etsy ad campaign for the minimum $1 a day, and that's it. And like I said, I was selling a handful of them every day when it got to the height, right? So we get over here and run a sales or discount, and you can click run a sale here at the top. And I've got a few promos already going, but you can just set a percentage off and give them 10 or 15% off of your, especially if you're selling digital items. This makes a lot of sense. And you go over here and you can set the sale duration. You can prepare these for upcoming holidays, weekends, and stuff like that. You want to run a sale, especially running into Thanksgiving and Christmas time, right? So I'm not going to go through all of how to do that, but that right there is how you can run a sale as well. So we talked about a few things in here, and just want to check one thing real quick to see how we're doing. But we talked about a few things in here about how to set up those different settings, right? So we have the policy settings that I talked about wanting to set up. So you go to the back end of your store here, and that's where you can set up all these other things that I mentioned. So you want to set up returns, exchanges, cancellation policy, and privacy policy. I think it prompts you to set up your return and exchange policy as soon as you put your first listing for sale in a store. But I prefer running no returns or exchanges for most of my items. But I do, I've worked with people before, but listing that as an option and people will take advantage of it, So I suggest not really throwing it up there too much as an option, but of course working with your customers to try and make them happy. Then we've got cancellations that the majority. This one is all, like I said, this is the digital item one, so we only give them a little 6 hours to cancel, which, yeah, if I've got a customer who's not happy with the digital item they bought, I usually just issue them a full refund and also still try and get them the item, and they can still leave a review whether you issue a refund or not. So just be aware of that you might have unhappy customers that are trying to do that. Hold on just a second, and I'll be right back. Ooh, maybe I won't. Let's try this real quick. Are we back up there with the mic? Sorry about that. I have a little kid here with me, and she wanted to talk for a second. I wasn't sure if it was an emergency or not. Anyway, we'll jump back over here, and over these settings, you can set up your policies or how you're going to estimate your shipping dates and stuff like that. So my shipping dates are all within each description. You've got to check on the description of each item to get the shipping time. I feel like I'm missing a window here. Oh, there we go. All right. And where are we at? One more thing. You can run. So the thing about offsite ads here as well, we talked about ads for a second there. You can run the marketing stuff with Etsy ads. They do default you into these offsite ads, and if you opt out, it doesn't really help you at all. If you opt out of ads, they're going to charge you a flat rate no matter what. If you leave the offsite ads turned on, you do have to pay that higher ad percentage if you get a sale from offsite ads. But if you don't, then oh well. If you opt out, then you're stuck paying this fee no matter what, which usually ends up being more than the higher ad fee as if you were to get a sale. So I don't suggest you opt out of offsite ads. Where are we at as well? Oh, yeah, and I mentioned updating the about your shop and your members and your story. This is where you do that at under under settings and about your shop. So make sure that you put a story in here. My story, like I said, this is a bad example. I put a headline in that just takes you over to the YouTube page, and that's where that's at. Because the whole idea about the shop was to post the designs that I do show in other YouTube videos for sale for certain ones. Now, other ones I'll be giving away to you guys, at least for a short period of time. I'll give them away for at least like a week or so when I do a video. And then from there on out, you can buy them on here if you want to. And then you can add shop photos, like how the other one had the scrolling photos. I didn't never bother to add those to the shop, but this is where you would add those scrolling photos to. And if you want linkable websites, you can put them down here as well under these shop links. And a shop video, if you do want to sit there and talk about yourself for a little bit, or just take one of your other TikTok or Instagram story reels and put them in there too. And like I mentioned, having members of the shop, you can add yourself, your spouse, your kid, all that good stuff, and pictures if you do or don't want to, you know. But the more photos you put anywhere in your shop, the better it tends to help with, right? All right. So I think that covers everything for that one real quick. Did you guys have any other questions about the Etsy stuff to go over? I think there's a few more things that I had on this bullet point list I didn't go over yet, but we might not do those today. But the important thing really is the photos that show a your products like in use. Photos that show your products in use, like that really incline somebody to click on it. Would you click on that photo versus your competition? And again, using that incognito search to see where you show up in the search history or the search listings, and using that Erank to look at what tags work well and really compare your listings to other similar listings is really helpful. And knowing how many photos you have, having the right at least 5, I suggest a full 10 photos really helps too. All right. Well, are we going to be able to do this? That's so the other item that we're going to talk about real quick was an easel project. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick, and we'll throw that in there. I'm just going to go ahead and see if I can pull these two up. I had it pulled up, but it closed it on me when I opened Etsy earlier. All right, we'll just make a copy of that flag one, and we'll go from there. All right. So we've got this flag set up here, and this is typically how I start a new flag project. Actually, let's rename this one real quick. So this is my 11 by 20 flag, and we're going to throw a logo on this. And for that, I'm just going to steal the logo from my Etsy store because this was supposed to be for a nurse anyway. If you do have an Etsy store where you sell digital products, you can download your own downloads the easy way instead of trying to find them. I have this saved in a bunch of folders with my other Etsy stuff, but rather than showing you guys all that, you can come down here to that SVG, and it's going to download it right there. And then we can import that SVG of that logo. So there we've got this one. I'm going to go ahead and just shrink this down to give you a little bit more area to view it real quick. Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate that. Is the Shapeoko 4 compatible with Easel? So yes and no. So the Shapeoko 4 itself is. It really kind of depends on whether you want to run Easel as a sender or not. But if you want to run Carbide Motion as a sender, the resulting G code that Easel outputs is not really set up for that. To run it with Carbide Motion. So if you want to run Easel or a different G code sender, then it works out fairly well. But not so much with using Carbide Motion. And you know, based on the price of Carbide Create Pro and the price of Easel Pro, I think there's better options out there that work better. If you haven't, I don't know why these are set to full depth. Let me change that real quick. If you haven't checked it out yet, check out Carveco. Here, I'll put a link in the description real quick to a free trial of Carveco Maker. It's only $15 a month. Yeah, so I think the reason why it's not connecting for you is likely, I mean, if you've got Carbide Motion already set up, then that one will try and steal a connection. The other thing is if you go into device settings, you can see what port it's going on to, and Easel doesn't like it if it's set up to the wrong port. That'll throw flags up in Easel with problems if it's on port numbers 1 through 3. Windows doesn't really like that. That can be a big one that causes it to not work. Here, let me take all of this, or at least these ones. Yeah, these ones. We're going to combine these together and make it easier to select stuff going forward. So really all I've done here is I've taken this logo in the SVG form of and imported that into Easel, and then we're just going to create a bounding around it, right? We have the stripes that are showing through it. We don't really want that. So there's kind of two options here for that. And the easy way is to just have this at 0 depth and as a pocket. And that kind of takes care of that all by itself, right? And that's really the trick is having that outlined border that you're going to go ahead and do that with. Now, let's say you bring in a design that doesn't have that border yet. Oops. I'm really good at pushing that wrong button, aren't I? I should probably disable those hotkeys. So if you don't have that outside border, you just select your design here and go over here to the apps, and we'll use the Offsetter V2 tool. And that allows us to make that, that border surrounding it, right? We do want to keep our original. And now we've got all these individual borders here. I'll just move that flag out of the way for now to make this a little easier to see. But all these pieces here have their individual own border, right? So that can get a little bit of a confusing. So I'm going to undo real fast to go back to just this piece. I'm going to cheat and copy. Actually, we'll drop a copy over here somewhere. Yeah. We just need 2 copies of them, right? Like this and that one there. And we could take this one here, again, use that offsetter app. This is the way I usually do it in 2 different workspaces and then combine all the stuff together once I get the offset the way I want it looking. It doesn't matter if you select keep original or not. We're going to get rid of all that in just a second. So now we got this nice border, but it's all these different pieces. You can then use the combine function. And now we've got that outside border the way we want it. We can select these 2 items here and center them amongst each other like that. Send the border one to the back. It's a little bit easier to see if I change the coloration of it like that, right? So we've got that perimeter now. And that is really how I do the perimeter for what we had over here a moment ago, right? Oops. Did I do that too fast? Yeah, Mike, I'll touch base with you after this, and we can see if reach out to me on Facebook. We can see if we can get you set up with either how to fix your connection there or Carveco, which I don't know if you planned on using the paid version of Easel Pro, or if you're going to use Easel free. Have you tried Carbide? I mean, Carbide Create is really set up to work well with Carbide Motion and the Shapeoko. So unless there's a function of Easel that you need, and even then, oftentimes I have designed in Carveco and then, in Easel, and then taken that resulting design back over to Carbide Motion or to Carbide Create, and then that allows other people to be able to use it over on Shapeoko the easiest way possible. Now you should be able to connect an Easel to your Shapeoko regardless, but I think it might be a COM port setting and the way that Carbide Motion has already connected to it. So here we have the link to the Carveco 90-day trial. All right, I'm going to link that one more time again. So if you do want to try out that free 90 days of Carveco, you can do that over there. It talks about that if you use my link, you'll get a 5% discount applied to your account, and I get a small commission if you do decide to sign up for Carveco and keep it past the trial period. But if you don't, then that's fine. Just try it out, see if you like it. But again, it's only $15 a month for Carveco. I use them both, Carveco, Easel, and Fusion 360, all 3 of those, for what they are best at, and that's it. So if one is better than the other, then I'll use the other one. And yeah, I do pay for all of them, and I find that they're worth what they cost. So now in order to, you might want this centered on there the right way, and since I combined the stripes already, so if you've got stripes that are combined, it might be kind of a pain to center your design across here. You can try and do it manually by dragging stuff around like I was a second ago. You can combine or group your design elements to make moving them around a little bit easier. But then combine really messes with you because you can't change the cut depth when you've got stuff combined. It would be really nice if they added a little pop-up here that says these settings are not available when your selection is grouped, because this the way that it looks here is a big issue that gets posted into the various Facebook groups at least once every couple of days. Why are my cut settings grayed out? Well, that's because you've grouped your design. If you ungroup them, then you can change your settings again. Anyway, so if you do want to align it center there, the easiest way is probably to ungroup these or uncombine them. And we can do that over here under the apps using the Shape Exploder or Exploder app. Somehow I turned on caps. So these 2 different apps are very closely related to one another, and you'll just want to, I suggest trying one out and getting used to it and figuring out what one does versus the other, right? In this case, they're both actually going to do the exact same function, whichever one you choose to use here. So for this, the reason why I exploded is because I want to use this stripe to center the logo. It's going to go below it. So I'm going to select that stripe and I'm going to lock it, which does no longer allows me to move it around. So then I can select these other ones that are behind it and that one, holding the shift key at the same time. And then I can align them all. And since this one doesn't move, because it's locked in place, it aligns the other ones to that one. I'll show you what happens if I hadn't locked it in place. This one here isn't locked in place, right? I'm going to select these, going to move them out of the way. Select that one and do the same thing. So I've got all three of these. Not the top one that's locked, but this second one that's not locked. And if I try that same align horizontal button here, it moved them all equally. So it moved the logo a little bit to the left and it moved the stripe a little bit to the right. So that's why I like to lock the item that I'm aligning to in position before I use that alignment function. All right. So we're back here and it's back where it needs to be. Bring to front. And again, if I set this to a 0 depth cut, then we end up with that nice border around it over here. And I'll go ahead and run this preview real quick so you can see what it looks like. And that's really it as far as setting up your a logo on a flag or a logo on a different sign like that. All right. So here, I think if you haven't seen my other video about setting up flags, what I would do is I would take this the way it is here and then run through the rest of that using a V-bit for this area here for the logo. Even if you do have to make flat bottoms with a V-bit, that's usually faster and more accurate than having to switch out two different bits. And then the V-bit only for the stars and an end mill only for the stripes and the perimeter. And that's typically how I do my flags. Now, if you did want to stack more logos, I'm not sure if you've seen another flag that I made with the Marine Corps symbol and then the person's rank logo on it next to it. But I used the same functionality of a 0 depth item sitting on top of the stripes to do that. Oh, there's one step I left out. So once you've got everything aligned where you want it to be at, and the preview looks the way you want it to look, it's kind of hard to visualize here because I only have the one bit selected. But once you've got all that the way you want it to look, like I mentioned, I do the stripes on its own workpiece. Here, actually, I'll just show you real quick. We'll run through this, and I'll show you all that stuff. So once I have a master copy like this, I go through and I duplicate it over as many times as I'm going to be doing different carves. So what I would start with here is, here I'll show you the wrong way first. If you were to take this and kind of split it up, like I mentioned, I'm going to do the stripes with the end mill only, and I'm going to do this Cicadius logo with the V-bit, right? So if you were to take this and delete it off, you're left with the stripes, and we don't want it like that. We want it to be, we have to have that white portion cut away from the stripes. So in order to cut them away, we want to select them all like this. Holding Shift is the easy way to do it. Selecting the stripes and that white part and using the combine function. And now that white part is gone. Oh, it looks like I didn't have the top stripe selected when I did that. But the white part goes away and it leaves you with that perfect cutout around the outside. Does that make sense? So doing that really, oh, I had 2 copies. It's still locked. Okay. So anytime you do a combine, it is going to leave the locked one there unless you delete it off. So just something to be aware of. Make sure to unlock them again before you go combining stuff because it makes 2 copies. The original one is left there, locked in place. It'll make a new copy that does have your cutout. So anyway, the reason why we want to do that is when we make copies, I could have left the white portion on top of there, but that actually makes it a little bit difficult for Easel to toolpath out with the masking left on top. So whenever possible, use that combine function to really erase your masking away. All right. So with that erased away, we'll just do that real quick. So we've got the master copy here with that white masking part still there. We've got the other one with the masking kind of erased away, and then we'll make another duplicate here. And this is where we're going to start the carve. I'm going to carve the stars only using a V-bit, and I'm going to carve the cicadas here also using a V-bit. But because of the way that I like to set Z0 in different places, I would want to Z0 it over here on top of this area before I carve the stars, and then Z0 it over here before I carve the cicadas logo, just because it's going to make it even more accurate. Now, I do suggest always surfacing before you run your V-bit carves no matter what, but if you're not going to surface, doing it this way with multiple Z0s is going to help out a lot, right? So we've got the two 9-degree V-bit portions. We can make one more copy of this one. Delete this off. Delete those off. So then I would run, like I said, I would run this one, setting Z0 in this area. Run this one, setting the Z0 in this area. And again, if, like you mentioned, you're running the Shape Oko. I don't know that this really helps you on the Shape Oko because you probably use a bit setter for that. And oops, I didn't mean to do that from the master. And that doesn't always give you the most exact value, especially if you're using the front corner, right? If your work piece is not flattened beforehand, you might have different varied results. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. You don't have to keep sending a super chat. I do appreciate it, but you don't have to do that, man. If you just, I'm reading all the comments too. Here, oops, I deleted the stars and the stripes, but I appreciate it, Mike. Yeah, I hope you set up as soon as we get out of here. So again, this one here for the stripes, I would do that with the 1/8 inch by itself, and that gives enough detail without having to run a V-bit all the way around the outside. I don't mind that my corners of the stripes are a little bit rounded. It saves so much time versus running two different bits, and the issues with aligning the height perfectly for Z0, because if you run an end mill, you have the different cutting forces where it's trying to pull the wood up or push it down, right? So whenever possible, I try to not run two different bits in the same carve area. Even if it means my V-bit's going to take longer to run. I don't mind running an extra half an hour worth of V-bit versus having to change bits out. And then here we've got the perimeter cut outside the path all the way through. Usually my board is like a 1x12, so it's a little bit oversized in length left and right, and I'll clamp it over here safely and then use these tabs to hold it in place as I cut the perimeter. So my carve for a flag becomes 4 different stage carve, one with the V-bit over here. I prefer the look of a 90 on the stars. So let's double check those to make sure that they are the right depth. And the V-bit will limit its own depth if you don't make it too shallow. If you make it too shallow so that there's flat bottom pockets like this, it starts to be a flat bottom pocket, then it's only going to go to the depth that you set it to, right? But if you let it go fully, then you end up with this, I think, a much more good-looking fully V-bottom star. The other thing that happens here is it does say it's only 10 minutes with my current cut settings, but they're pretty aggressive, right? We'll go 70, and depending on what machine you're running, you might not be able to go faster than 19 on certain machines. So if we simulate that out and look at the time we have for this, we've got 16 minutes. But if we take those same cut settings, actually, that depth is really shallow too, right? So usually with this V-bit, I can go at least a 1/4 inch per pass. So let's look at that simulated time one more again, right? So we're at 16 minutes still, because we're still only doing that in one single pass. If we go down to, it doesn't really matter what our depth is as long as it's past the point where it becomes that true V at the bottom. And we could see that that was a 16-minute pass before, and now it's quicker at a 14-minute pass because it's not doing any of the flat bottoms. Making the bottom flat actually takes a bit of time, right? Do we have this set up still? Oh, see, my VBit step over is not the default. So the default was 1%. Now you'll really see the time difference it takes. So we're at 20 minutes because of all these little step overs down here in the bottom. You can see how the VBit has to step over in order to make it flat. So just by going deeper, we go from 20 minutes down to 14 because we don't make flat bottom pockets. And depending on what your design is, that and what size bit you're using, that can be a big difference, right? So we've got the VBit set up over there. We're going to do the same thing over here with this for the Cicadas logo. Now this is going to give us some flat bottoms, which is going to increase our time. I do need to change that step over one more time again, because anytime you duplicate a project, it retains the step over from before, from the original copy that you duplicated. So if this was at the default 1%, then this is going to take quite a bit more time to carve because it's got quite a bit of flat bottom portions in there. And now it's going to take a few minutes to probably calculate that out. All right. It doesn't really help that we've got 3 different cameras streaming to this computer, and I'm also uploading the same live stream on this computer. All right, so we're at 19 minutes to do this. We do have a couple of flat bottom areas there. If you do want to hide the tool paths to look down in there, you can see that there are some flat bottom areas that it's going to carve those out. Let's see if I can do this a little bit better for you guys to see this. Oops. So depending on whether or not you like that look or not, you can change the depth, of course, right? But if you're going to be painting this in the way that I probably would, this looks pretty good. We might even get rid of some of those flats to do a full V throughout. And that would speed up the time a little bit more, because when we look at the tool paths, we've got, this is a rather thin step down too. So we could cheat that a little bit more and go with a larger step down in there. But and that feed rate is feed and plunge might be more than what some of your machines can do. Anyway, that's how I set it up with 2 different carves, where one where I can set the Z0 in the different areas, right? All right. And then one more here with the 1/8 inch end mill, and then the 1/8 inch end mill again for the perimeter. And that's all we're going to do there for those. All right. Did you guys have any questions about that or want to see something different? Just go ahead and let me know. Otherwise, I will head out of here soon and then go help Mike with his stuff one-on-one. But if you guys have any other projects to work on, let me know. Send me those to cncseth@gmail.com, and I'd love to see your projects. And if you guys need help with anything, let me know. We can hopefully put it in another video, or at least a short one that I can send straight to you, right? If you haven't seen them yet, there's way too many of those short one-on-one personalized videos over on the members only section of the YouTube channel. Oh, yeah, one more thing. This doesn't really give the exact view because I'm not going to use the VBit for all of this, but we've got this other thing here. I don't know if you guys have seen this yet or not, but it's called Product Preview. This isn't the best way to show it because the VBit wants to take over the perimeter border here, so it doesn't really show this preview right. But this Product Preview allows you to like take a snapshot of it, right? So if we kind of take that, we can trick this a little bit by setting this, let's see, depth deeper. we're going to go ahead and add some custom materials in here to get some different colors. If we go with these 2-color acrylics, I kind of like the way that that looks. You've got different colors here to pick from that are in the defaults. But the aluminum on black, or black on the white like that, those kind of look pretty neat. You can also select up here under custom colors and give it your own top and bottom colors and the different thicknesses here, right? So I usually set it to a super thin top thickness. That way, as soon as it carves through the top, we get to see that. All right. And then we can click detail view. You always want to run the detail view before you go into that photo one, because it sometimes doesn't run it by itself. And then you'll have some weird results. But anyway, we'll show you what this looks like real quick. If we go into product preview now, we can then click different areas of the carve to essentially delete those pieces of material out, and then you can take a photograph of what you're looking at in there, and it just saves it to your default folder. So if I click on, because that's a V-bit around the perimeter, it doesn't really love, or 0.0831 is my, there we go. Now it's showing all the way through. All right. When we go to product preview, it's going to run that generation all over again because I didn't have the depth set fully. And then we'll be able to click these borders and hide them basically. And that allows you to take a better, more realistic picture of your sign. I'll show you another example that's going to show it a little bit better than what this one will. But yeah, it doesn't work for deleting it when you've got V-bits in there. I have heard through the grapevine that Easel is Inventable's team is working on a solution for the multiple bits and being able to better select which bit goes where. Oops. Deselect all these stripes. There we go, like that. So here, I'm going to show you that photo preview real quick, and then I think that's it. So if you were cutting out a sign like this, it makes a lot of sense. If you're using a V-bit to engrave it, it doesn't really help you too much. But if you are going to be cutting it out, outside the path like that, then when we run the product preview, it'll allow us to click those border areas and hide them. They'll just go away. So then you end up with this result here that you could take a photo of, right? So the way I've always done this in the past was just to slide this all the way over and this all the way down and take a screenshot of it. But now you can use this camera button here to take a photo, and then over on my other screen it popped up, but you get a photo that's saved on your computer already with that image. So you might want to, center it a little bit better. Find the right zoom where you can see the whole thing like that, and then take a photo, and there we go. And you're with that photo. Now, because we couldn't use a V-bit in conjunction with the perimeter end mill, our photo doesn't look that great. Also, I missed a little piece right there that I could have deselected, right? And if I would have clicked on that before I took the photo, it would have deleted that piece out as well. Let's see if I can get in there and get it. So it's kind of neat how you can click to remove those outside perimeters, although I don't love the way that it interacts with V-bits, Hopefully they get that new multi-bit selection process ironed out and released sometime soon. But I've heard that they're working on that. Yeah, anyway, thank you guys for hanging out with me today. I will be doing a video in the next couple of days about some St. Patrick's Day decorations that are pretty easy to do that that I've been painting in the back today, earlier this morning. Anyway, thank you guys for hanging out. I appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great weekend. Let me know over on Facebook or in the community section here on YouTube what you guys are working on and what projects you got going. All right, take care.